Hello, everyone. Welcome to the No Zoo Lions podcast. My name is Ari. I'm joined with Chad, and we have a special guest today, our very good friend, Rob Magao from Connecticut. He runs Officer Survival Series, and today we're going to be chatting with him about the origins of police training, what he does specifically in his particular program, and some of the problems that we may be seeing emerging in police training in 2026 and how we can avoid some of those things. So, Rob, welcome. Chad, welcome.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
thanks.
So, Rob, let's give, I think most of our listeners probably know who you are. We've been friends for a really long time, and what you have been doing up in the East, up there, is been amazing and across the country. So, let's just give the listeners who don't know you a little background on you, what you do, and what exactly Officer Survival Series is.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rob Magao. I was a 25-year police officer here in Connecticut. I retired about a couple of years ago, and I've been training martial arts my entire life since I was a kid. Started off in judo, moved into other karate, Japanese jiu-jitsu, stuff like that. And then, of course, like everyone else, when I saw Hoist Gracie in 1993 on the pay-per-view with the first UFC, I was like, I have to learn that. And of course, there was really nowhere around my house to do that, and I was poor college kid and didn't have any money. So I kind of traveled around seminars, got the old VHS tapes from the Gracie in action and stuff like that, and started getting together with friends trying to learn. And over time, was able to start meeting people that I could train with, and here I am now, all these years later. I'm a third-degree black belt under Pedro Sauer, and I have two schools in Connecticut, in Manchester and in Hebron, Connecticut. And I got about 500 students, and still compete to this day at my age. And 53 now. And then I run the Officer Survival Series program here. So it's a kind of a program that's mostly in Connecticut. We will go outside of Connecticut, but I used to travel around the country for years doing
Mhm.
classes. And I kind of got to a point where it kind of burnt me out from going different places. And I kind of felt like I'm going to all these towns or cities and starting a fire that only lasts a short time. And then as soon as I leave, it kind of extinguishes. And then maybe if I just concentrated on the area that I'm from, the people around me, that we can make better change that's
Mhm.
more longevity in nature. So that's kind of what I did. And we add a lot more into the program, which we can talk about. Beyond the physical side, there's a whole lot of other things we mix into it because I think it needs to be a total use of force package, not just, can you punch? Can you take someone down? Can you handcuff somebody? There's a lot more to it than that.
Mhm. Now, do you find that so now that we're kind of moving into a more mixed area, so you used an interesting term before we started, combination men. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, so many years ago, when I started, becoming a police officer and learning all this stuff, I started to seek out people that had kind of come before me, and that many of them are still doing this kind of thing today. And some of the names that I got attracted to are names that you might not even know. People in my region, my chief actually at the police department that I worked in, Jim Strach, he was a longtime wrestler, and he was one of the guys that what was instrumental in our area doing this kind of thing. We had several people in our PD and around our state, but then I always followed Matt Larson. Matt Larson was in the in the military and started the Army combatives program. And Matt told me years ago that many years ago, back in the early days, people were called combination men. Those were people that could wrestle and box. So someone that knew both systems of grappling and striking. And this is, going back to the days of, I think you had a book earlier you held up, yeah, like that era, the
Yeah.
30s, 40s, 50s, and they were people that kind of combined various ranges of fighting. Because I think up until mixed martial arts came out, most people thought no one did both, and there was a time when they certainly did. So we're not the first to do this, for generations and probably hundreds, if not thousands of years since
Yeah.
the first caveman tripped another caveman. The martial arts was born. So.
Yeah. Hey, Chad, when you think of pioneers in police training or whatever, what comes to your mind when you think about who came before us?
So historically, it was, those early manuals, and you have those, Ari. We're both kind of students of the game. It was wrestling, boxing, judo, and so it was more like arts. I don't know who the guys were, but then there was a transition, and certainly it was still very heavy in the late 90s when I came on with Eastern arts, and I have some theories on that. We won't get into them necessarily here. Some for whatever reason, Eastern arts in the 50s, 60s, 70s, probably your like karate schools popping up everywhere. That really influenced law enforcement training. When I came on, there was quite a bit of karate feel to everything, and then even some Aikido stuff.
Hmm.
And but as for the mixed or the combination men, like Rob says, Rob's one of the originals. Craig Douglas is an original. ISR Matrix was doing stuff back in the day. Um, you know, I think those are some of the early modern pioneer type systems where it's where we're starting to mix arts, which I think was super important for that to happen in policing. Ari, what do you think? Why do you think we started moving back? Because I can tell you for sure in the 80s and 90s, it was a lot of stand up, a lot of karate, a lot of stuff like that.
Yep.
Why do you think we're seeing this movement back into a mixed approach? What's your perspective?
Well, I wrote an article about this for the Invictus. Basically, it was the history of police jiu-jitsu over the last 100 years, and it showed how we've moved
Get
from
that
art to art. And I think Rob kind of hit the nail on the head. We're starting to become hopefully wiser that it's a combination of things that make us better. So we put ourselves into silos, or martial arts would typically go, I'm a karate guy. Karate is all I need, and I can defeat all these arts. And as Rob pointed out, when Hoist Gracie stepped onto the mat and was dismantling all these different arts, people looked at that and go, "Oh, that's very interesting." But then we saw the other arts learning jujitsu, and then so this is where this combination started coming in. And we all realized that police jujitsu is not mixed martial arts. It's its own thing because we need to have weapon retention. We have to have a large combination of things that we do to make it work. So, Rob, when
Could
you
I piggyback on that real quick though,
yeah,
Ari? So on the mixed martial arts, it being a martial art for law enforcement, that there's some people who are trying to jump on that train like that's a new idea. That is not a new idea. And I do think it's new that it's becoming prominent. But I do think that some of those early pioneers and you know, I was one of those. Rob was one of those. The Sock P guys, Craig Douglas, and there are others. But that mixed approach, where it's become its own martial art. I think we were doing that, but now it's become really pronounced. Like that is the way you could build a curriculum.
Mhm. So, Rob, what is the state of police training today in 2026? How would you describe it? I mean, we can look back 20 years, 10 years, that type of thing. But right now, how would you describe the state of police training?
I would say drastically improved from when I came on, but yet miles to go. Miles upon miles to go. So we're in the right direction. I think if you go back to those early days, like Chad was just discussing, most of those programs were run by people that didn't train all the time. These are people that might have trained when they were younger, or they might have gone to a bunch of DT courses and collected enough certificates, and they became kind of known in their area, but they weren't like lifelong, day in, day out, consistency over time, as Chad would say, training type people. They
Mm.
were just people that put the shirt on a couple times a year to go down and get overtime to teach DT to everybody, right? That they weren't consistently living the lifestyle. I think nowadays there's a lot more better training companies out there. There's guys like Storm Training with Tom Menton. There's guys like Chad. There's guys like EFC. There's guys like you can say what you want about any of them, GST for that matter. But these people train as a lifestyle. They train all the time. We might not always get along with everything we all do, but they're all consistently training. So I think the level of instructor that is running programs that are teaching police is drastically improved since when guys like Chad and I got first hired. I don't know if Chad agrees, but I think that it's come light years from what it used to be.
I, I agree because the whole reason I started looking to teach was I couldn't get it elsewhere.
Mm.
That was my problem. I could get good MMA and I could get good jujitsu, but it's very hard to. I wanted to train it every day, and to train it every day, I had to start doing it. That's the only way. So,
So how do we, as police officers and delivering training, a lot of companies want to set themselves apart from other companies, right? That's kind of like a business model. I don't necessarily think that that is something that we need to do. But so, Rob and Chad, I'm going to ask you this question. What do you think a modern company in 2026 needs to deliver to their students to be a wholesome and fulsome police training company? Rob, let's start with you.
Well, I think first of all, you actually have to have the skill that you're trying to teach. You know, that's a whole nother thing, right? You might be good at one specific thing. Like in my program, I'm not the only instructor that runs. We're in the middle of running a program right now here in Connecticut, and I'm kind of the conductor. I'm the person that sits in front of the orchestra and I direct everybody, but I can't play every instrument like they can.
Mm.
So, I bring in people that are better at certain things than I am. I'm not a lawyer. I can't. I'm not going to teach the case law stuff like a really good trial attorney that does police use of force cases. I might be able to recite some Graham versus Connor and stuff like that, and I understand it as a police officer, but I don't understand it to the degree that someone that's tried police cases in a use of force capacity and federal law court. Okay, so we bring. I'm not a. I can put tourniquets on, but I'm not a trauma surgeon. There's people in our class that are really, really good at vehicle extractions. I'm good at them, but there's people that are better. So I try to surround myself with people that really know their area of expertise very well. Where I think there's a lot of programs out there that are led by people that kind of think they know all of it themselves
Mm.
and don't pay any homage to where they might have learned things in the past or aren't willing to say, hey, that person's might be better than me. And I think that's a huge mistake. I think that, eventually people will see through that. Eventually your program will suffer. And eventually, it becomes, you can't hide behind the curtain too long. You end up getting found out that you don't really know everything, and no one does. There's none of all of us in combination don't know everything about use of force. We're pretty educated, but there's topics among that we could come up with right now that we're not experts in. And I think that that's a problem in a lot of these classes is, they're being led by one instructor or maybe two, and they're going, place to place to place and portraying themselves as the end all be all. No one knows more than we do.
Hmm.
It stops with us and you don't need anything else. And I don't think that's accurate.
Chad, what about you?
yeah. So your question's an interesting one, Ari. It's one that I've battled with my whole time owning a business, and then I have a brand, and then whatever. The only reason, one of the reasons I started doing that is just so I can teach. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy sharing. But to Rob's point, and Ari, you and I have talked about this before on one of our earlier podcasts. To me, what I see is, and Rob also mentioned, like another guy might be better than me at this or better at me than that, and that is such true wisdom. Another part of that I know Rob agrees with, he just didn't word it this way, is even if guys are really good or at standard, I'll acknowledge those guys. Like I might even think, hey, I'm actually a little slicker than this guy, or a little more dialed in. I have guys who teach for me that I allow them to teach segments that are my favorite segment or something I feel like I'm really dialed in on, because number one, they are at a standard or higher. They exceed the standard normally, whatever the normal standard would be. And then secondly, when I'll watch them teach it, I'll sometimes discover, man, I'm not that dialed in. Like that was
Mm.
super good what that guy just did or what he just taught, or it gives me a new appreciation. So I look at myself as being in the NFL or the NBA or the NHL, and there's certain teams that are in the league. It rubs me the wrong way when a team tries to act like there's not a league. And that rubs me the wrong way. And that's just a personal thing. So in my business, I'm trying to do something. I'm not trying to be someone. And I wouldn't argue that marketing that you are someone is not fruitful. I wouldn't argue that that's not the case. I wouldn't argue that you're not going to make some money. but the relationships that I forge over time are very useful to me, and I still make money.
Mhm.
So I'm going to continue to do it the way I do it. It costs you nothing to recognize another company. It costs you nothing to put up a post, to repost another person's work. It costs you zero to post their work and put their name on it and say, this guy's teaching this amazing concept. We teach this as well, but watch this breakdown. This is as good as I've ever seen it taught. There's zero wrong with you doing that. Now, I realize other people either don't agree with me or they think it'll take away. I don't know. I don't know for sure why they don't do it. I've asked some other guys why they don't do it, and there's not really a good answer that, but for me, that's what I would like in 2026, 2020. This thing's easy. We've got Ari here with your own company. We've got Rob here with his own company. We've got me here with my own company, and we're all united. And we're going to talk about each other's stuff, and we're going to talk, and we're going to build each other up. For me, I feel like that is the way I want to run my business. But I would not say that that's the only way to do it, and I
Mhm.
would not say that's even the most, um, I don't know, profitable way to do it.
I look at it like this too. I mean, in the United States, what is there? Anywhere between 800,000 and a million cops, right? I mean, and there's like 14 dudes going around the country doing this. So
Only
there's,
like 14 good ones, right?
you know what I mean? But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is like there's so much work for the amount of people that are good at this that we couldn't possibly run over each other enough that it would make that much of a difference, right? And my coach Pedro Sauer always uses this. I've always loved it. He says, "You don't need to blow out someone else's candle to light your own."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, right. This
I
is,
know Ari feels that way
you know,
because Ari illustrates me and other guys all the time
yeah.
and always has. So yeah.
Yeah, I think my philosophy is we're stronger together than we are apart. I mean, very simply, that's what I believe. I also, as we've all touched upon, I don't know everything. I learn something every single time I see a video from you guys or we're together, like constantly. And I'm not just saying that; like it's absolutely true. And I mean, that's what I appreciate.
My,
So we've
my
talked about,
biggest irritation, I'm sorry, Ari,
yeah.
my biggest irritation that will keep me away from people, the only walls that are built, I let other people build the wall. And if you build a wall that says, hey, we're the person in this space, well then screw off. Like I first off, I don't know why you would say that. I don't know. I don't understand why it's not enough to be, to Rob's point, hey, there's like 14 good ones. There's 10 good ones. Like that's it. There's not a bunch. I don't think there's 14. I can't name 14 good ones.
I
Like
was trying to be nice.
yeah, that are national. There's a handful, dude.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's probably thousands that just are localized that people don't know who they
correct.
are, right?
Correct.
Yes.
But
Agreed.
but there's a lot of them just undiscovered. Some of them just don't want to do that, right?
Agreed.
Because I know plenty of great instructors right here in Connecticut. They just don't want to be in that limelight.
Agreed.
But when you really look around and you see like the ones that have been steady, the ones that are good people, the ones that are doing the right thing, the ones that I've met in person and trained with, like there isn't a lot.
No. And there are guys making money that I have no desire to do any business with.
Mhm. So we're talking about modern policing now, and I know that neither of you have a crystal ball, but I'm going to ask a difficult question. What do you see PJJ, Police Jiu Jitsu, in 2036, 10 years from now? What's a change that you think you'll see or you'll hope that you will actually see? So, Rob, let's start with you. 10 years from now, what do the new trainers look like, and what does it look like for our profession?
I mean, I guess this you got to go down the rabbit hole of technology too and how things might change. Like when I got on our SWAT team in 1999, we didn't have drones, we didn't have like under the door cameras, we didn't have there was so many things we didn't even dream were possible. I went on my first entry, I had a shotgun. You know what I mean? Like literally, that's what I had, a shotgun and like an old Vietnam like helmet that didn't fit on my head. I was like a kid playing baseball, it was too big for me. It's like the technology. And then when I retired 18 years later off the team, I mean, we had everything. We had
Mm.
everything you could think of technology wise. And I think that that same thing now is happening at a more rapid pace. And now teams won't even clear a building until they send a drone in to clear the building first, right?
Yeah.
You know, like a dog. So it's who knows what's going to come out of this. Are we going to have robot cops at some point? Like, seriously, are we
Mhm.
going to have people that aren't even human going in and having to deal with these situations? I don't even know. But
Mhm.
I think that if we can continue pushing the training, I think that it's still going to be slow. I don't think it's going to change overnight. I think that it's such a big machine. There's so many agencies. It's so vast. So many cops don't want to train. I mean, at the end of the day, I was looking at the Invictus page not too long ago, and I was noticing how many people follow it. And even with all the hard work that you guys have put into this, when you look at the number of people that follow it
Mhm.
versus the number of law enforcement that there are in the United States, it's kind of discouraging, right? It's like really like there's 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever it is at the
So
time. I
can
don't
I make a
remember.
point on that? I'm going to let you
Yeah.
continue, but so this is something that I have, I absolutely put my foot down when I started the page. And it basically was, I'm not going to buy followers because I can assure you people do.
Mhm.
And you can easily find out if people are buying followers. It's a very simple algorithm, and there's a website that actually tells you. So I never wanted to do that. I wanted it to be organic. So 6 years later, we have 13,300 people following the Invictus page. Should there be a couple 100,000? Yeah, I would think so because you look at other pages, they have that as well. But one of the reasons that our page doesn't attract that attention, this is my theory on it, is because I do not highlight officer videos of shootings. I don't, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but there's no sensationalism on it. It's basically like, here's a technique or here's an article, and here's the boring research that we've poured hours into to give to you. So I just don't think it has the juice that a lot of people want, that 30-second, like, oh, show me the violence type of thing. So that's not what we're about. And I'm okay with that. It's better to have 13,300 followers who like what you're doing than 300,000 that are just following because they're bots. That's my rant.
Well, Rob, I
No.
hope you still have your thought. Can I jump on Ari's
Yeah,
thought?
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm older than you and I can forget. So along those lines too, Ari, you said something very, very important. It's whatever the number is, it's guys who chose to follow you and they're consuming your thing. Even on the pages that post the failures or post the shootings or post the real sensationalized. I really love that term. They're watching those videos for entertainment. They're watching those videos the same as they watch the reality CC videos, the same as they watch the girl fight video outside bars. It's the same thing to them. And so I'm with Ari on that one. What do you got, Rob?
That's 100% true. I was at my school a few weeks ago, and one of the guys who's not a cop, just a guy that trains there, he came up to me and he's like, man, he says, I got like 4 hours sleep last night because I went down the rabbit hole watching police body cam videos.
Mhm.
I couldn't stop watching them. And he's not a cop, never been a cop, not going to be a cop. You know, he works in business somewhere. And it's like, and he's like said the same thing. He follows all these pages so that he can watch all these things, you know,
Mhm.
and I just often wonder like how much we are changing. I think we're changing a lot compared to what it was.
Mhm.
But I think for example, I went out to the Axon week last year and I did a presentation there and there was people from all over the world and I did a full, couple hour presentation and it was all use of force instructors from all over the world, really, not just the United States. And not one person in the room. I had a whole list at the end of my presentation. C4C, ShivWorks, Knife Control Concepts, Invictus, all the different companies that do police training. I listed them all. I said, hey, go check these people out. No one in the room knew who any of them were.
It's crazy. So
How is
these,
that possible? That
but
you're a use of force instructor in major cities and you have a list of people and they don't know who any of them are. It's fascinating to me because I'll tell you why. Because most people, in my experience, that wanted to become a defensive tactics instructor saw the memo go out. They got picked as the favorite child. They put in for it and went to a class. They came back and they use it as a resume builder, and they don't truly care about making a difference in police use of force. They don't really care. They get overtime to teach people. It's out of patrol for 2 days, whatever it happens to be. And I think that sadly, that is probably one of the more common reasons people become training in anything. Firearms, forget DT. Firearms training in police work is atrocious.
Yeah.
It's atrocious.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I don't know what it's like out there, but in Connecticut, you want to be a firearms instructor as long as you can, shoot a 240 one time, like you're in. Like it makes it's crazy. So I wonder in order for things to change 10 years from now, you need to have people that are passionate about the cause. They have to live it. They have to want to be it. They want to think about it 24/7. Listen, I'm obsessed with it. I'll be going to bed at night trying to fall asleep, and I'm thinking of ways like, well, how can I defend my gun this way, or how do I pass the guard this way, or what kind of a takedown can I do off there? Where can I hit the wrist weave from? Like I'm not counting sheep. I'm counting guard passes. I'm counting, but it's like in me. I think Chad, we're like that too. It's a constant, you know, beginner's mind, always wondering like, how can I make this better? How can I get better? And I think that most people teaching police are the opposite of that.
Chad said to me once, we did one of our podcasts, and it was very poignant because Chad goes, "Hey, he's like you, Rob. He's like, this is me. Don't be like me. I am not normal." And I think that there need to be people in this arena that are not normal. It is not for everyone. And I'm not saying that we're Superman or anything like that. I'm just saying there's something that is wired in our brains that make us do what we want to do. It's the passion that allows us to move forward. This is why people who come into the use of force arena or PJJ and they don't have that, they burn out. So I see it a ton. It's like, hey, I want to teach cops. I'm like, do you really? you know, there's a lot that comes with that.
So on the 10-year thing from our side, Ari, like, well, one thing is my wife wants me to be done at 65. And so it's past 65. So I've got to have somebody else on just in my company thing, carry that on because I'd like to see it continue. Because I'm 58 this year. I'll be 58 this year. And so I have a little less than 10 years, but I want to keep training. So I'll still be involved, but I can't be, she doesn't want me trying to be that guy anymore, Ari. She's like, hey, I'll give you until you're 65 to try to do all this stuff you're trying to do, and then I don't want you to do it anymore. And I'm like, ah, it's fair. So she'll still let me go work out, but she doesn't want me, like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So, because I don't think I'm ever going to stop working. But um, the change I want to see is you do have to have the unreasonable people, Ari. We are the ones that will make the change in the industry. But the real change, I think we are figuring out what works. And here's why it's not a fad. A lot of people say, oh, well, that jujitsu thing was a fad. A lot of your old timers are guys who don't know jujitsu. But it actually works, and we can demonstrate it works. Rob does a great job of that in his program. Other programs do the same thing, and they do a great job of showing video of it actually working. Um, the data that's being produced in studies, I'm unaware of a single study. There are opinion pieces where people from different martial arts will make an opinion about whether cops should grapple or whether it's good or bad or whether a mixed format's okay or whether I should have a Krav-like format. There's
Mhm.
opinion pieces, but anytime we attempt to gather data, there are none that I'm aware of that says that this doesn't work. And so this is a results-based game at the end of the day. And what the change I want to see is not, we need to continue to change what's being taught, but I believe we're making significant inroads on what should be taught. Um, what I want to see the change in is the frequency of training. Like you should train every single week at work on the clock, and it ought to be required. It's what firefighters do. It's what all kinds of other professions do. And this idea that I'm going to do some kind of annual mandatory training is nonsense. You can take PJJ and put it into your police department. And if you're only going to do annual training, it's still good to have PJJ or officer survival school or come to an Invictus event and learn some valuable content for your officers, or whatever the class is, whatever the company is. It's one of those companies that teaches like we teach.
Mhm.
They're good companies. You can bring them in, and if all you're going to do is annual, semi-annual, or biannual training, well, then it might as well be one of those groups. However, having said that, you're still missing the boat if you do not uh, start changing the way we train. And so my main goal is as many places as I can to change the frequency of training. And I've been able to be very successful with that. With a police department where they actually created a position and hired a guy. They offered me the job. I told them I didn't want to leave my current job and I didn't want to leave Vegas. And so they actually hired a competitor of mine, and now they're running his program and calling it Police Jiu-Jitsu.
Mhm.
That's fine because they're training every day. It's actually way better than anything they ever did. So I don't have anything negative to say about it. I'm very confident in what I do. Prior to making that change, they did a peer-reviewed study that shows what we do works. But what I do is what Rob does. It's what you do. It's what a lot of guys do. So it's not just C4C PJJ. When we speak of police jiu-jitsu, we're speaking of any mixed approach training system. So the first change is we've got to continue to get everyone to see the value in it. You have to do it. And then the second thing is we've got to change when we train. Another place that's done a very good job of this is Jacksonville, Florida, in their academy. In their academy, they don't go on 8 mile runs. Or I don't know if they go on some runs. I don't know. What they will not sacrifice is every day of the week in the academy, the recruits train for an hour in a mixed format. And they have it scheduled throughout the academy. Some of it is striking, some of it is straight grappling or wrestling, some of it is mixed, some of it they have the gun belt on. And they just rotate them through. But the whole academy, you're doing an hour of combatives based training a day, every day. And that produces a crazy different person. Um, I believe that cops should train a minimum of once a week at work. I would like to see the change be 2 hours a week at work during their work week, mandatory, and every single cop should be doing it, and you would see a massive change.
Mhm.
So that's what I'd like to see. That won't happen in 10 years, but
Mhm.
I want us moving towards that.
So that's kind of the 10-year vision. Now, there's something that I have seen as I get older. Our focus changes as trainers. So my focus now, I wouldn't say I consider you guys lead voices in this arena. I am more of a spectator, to be honest, about it. However, my job as a jiu-jitsu instructor is now in my 50s is to pass along and make that next generation better than we were. So I'm now trying to focus on making the 25, 30-year-old, 35-year-old individuals replace us. And I think that if we as trainers try to hold on to what we have and not pass that gift on, that becomes problematic. And you'll watch companies do this because of it. So that's why I want to see. That's why I love doing like the Tahoe thing and any of these seminars, because you're seeing these young guys come up and gals come up, and they're amazing. And I'm like, wow, that's the future. That's fantastic. And so that's our job, I believe now, is to also be teaching these people. And we all have, I refer to them as understudies, but we all have people that we see that are coming up. So would you agree that the next generation is hopefully going to be better than us?
Well, that's what we always hope, right? My whole goal when I have a student walk into my school for just normal jiu-jitsu is that my goal is that they surpass me someday, right? That's not always going to be the case. Most people are going to quit over time. They're not going to make it to that black belt.
Mm.
But it's kind of like your kids. You want your kids to grow up and have a better life than you, right? So you want your students to grow up and have a better life than you. And I would say the same thing for DT. You want up and coming generation like we're passing the baton. They can go farther than we did. Okay, we carried as far as we can. Now it's your turn. Here's the lessons we learned. Here's the book. Here's the manual. Some things are right. Some things might not be right, but this is what we know. And then from there, they can just add to it, add to it and keep changing. And
Mm.
that's what we hope to. And I love the idea what Chad said. I always called that PTDT, where every single day in the academy, instead of just going out for a run and doing push-ups, you should be combining the elements together. You should be a little bit every single day, PT and DT mixed together, and you get way more training involved in it. And I think that's huge. Another idea that I've been thinking about for a long time, out here, I'm sure they have them out your way too. We have trade schools, right? So if you go to a high school that's a trade school,
Mm.
you might go to your trade for X number of months, and then you go to your academics, math, typical math and English and reading and all that for X number of months, and you rotate through that, right? One of the things, my dad was in the military, and he's dead now, but he used to say, um, law enforcement doesn't have enough people to do the mission. In the military, they have way more soldiers than they do that are of people being deployed. There's always extras, and the extras are training. So why couldn't we have, let's say you have a department of 100, why couldn't you have a department of 150, right? That you'd only need 100, but you add 50, and you always have a rotation of training. So let's say Chad's group is on patrol for this month, and my group's on patrol for this month, but your group is training. You see what I mean? Or
Yep.
whatever it is, week by week, month by month, however you want to do it. You rotate people out of patrol and back to training consistently throughout the year. And it gets them a mental health break.
Mm.
It gets them off the road. It gets them doing training all the time. And now I just think that that's a possible idea, like where you invest in a more bigger department and you have people cycling through training evolutions versus always being on the road.
I
Interesting.
love that. That's cool.
Kind of another thought on the next generation being better than us, Ari. Jordan Burroughs recently did a post, and if well, I don't know if he did it, somebody did it, but it's him talking, and it had highlights of him. Jordan Burroughs was a U.S. Olympic champion. He is an NCAA collegiate wrestling champion, and Jordan Burroughs was talking, and under his voice, they showed highlights from his career, and he said, people always say to me, I really want your career. And he says, what they really mean is the second half of my career. He says, I never won a state title. And I didn't know that about him. He goes, I never won state. He said, I won a national title for the first time in college. And he goes, from the time I started wrestling, he goes, I started wrestling when he was little. I think it was 7 or 8 or 6 or something. He goes, I never won a title until I was in college. So he says, from age 7 through high school graduation,
Mm.
he goes, I didn't win any titles. He said, I won some matches and I was competitive and I was a good wrestler. I was an excellent wrestler. I wrestled in college. But he said, I started winning national things in college. I started winning internationally post college. So he says, nobody wants the first part of my career. So it dawned on me as I'm listening to him, well, there's only one guy that wins a national title. There's only one guy that wins the Olympics. So all of us are the first part of his career. So my goal or my hope for a young officer is to have him fall in love with the first part of their career. Have them fall in love with, this is what I do. I train and then I compete to the best of my ability. I see where I need to improve and then I train some more. And I keep training. And it is my job. I was rolling this morning in a very tough room at Extreme Couture MMA with very tough people. And one of my guys got a chin strap on me. And then once we started to manipulate or move around, it became dangerous for my neck with the chin strap he had and with my age. And he's not doing anything wrong. This kid's in his 30s. He's competitive, tough kid, and very, very good. He'll probably receive his black belt uh, in the fall with us. We'll see. Well, shoot, I probably shouldn't have said that. He's probably listening, but that's all right. He knows he's a savage. He knows he's on the cusp. Anyway, he chin straps me, and I tap to that. And I tell him, I say, hey, that's my, he goes, oh, sorry, coach. I go, don't be sorry. It is my job to know what's wrong with me. I should be stripping that chin strap off. So because I'm I've never won national titles in anything. I've never won an international title. I
You're
think
undefeated.
yeah, I am. I bring that up. I've not been scored on in those arenas, but it I'm in that first part of his career, and Jordan Burroughs said I love the first part of my career
Mm.
and I love the second part, but he goes nobody wants the first part. Well, my goal is to create a bunch of dudes who realize because the reality is most of us are the first part of his career, and so that can't determine whether I'm going to train or not. We're all first part of his career dudes. And the beauty is let's fall in love with the lifestyle and create people who realize I'm a police officer, I need to be a pro.
Mm. When we were talking about trainers and stuff, it reminded me of a story. I want to just a quick story. So my instructor Keith Owen, he used to say on the mat, he goes, "I'm teaching you, Ari, or my students to defeat me." This is what he used to tell me. And then I'd roll with him, and then I'd be on top, I'd be side control, and then he'd whisper in my ear, it's like, you know how I said that, I'm teaching you how to defeat me. And then he would always say this. He'd be like, but not today, is what he would say. And it's those little moments, right? It's like eventually you see it on the mat where it's like, okay, now that student, like your student they got your number, and it's amazing. And I always talk about jujitsu like this. You're a black belt, and then you have your white belts and blue belts. And as you progress like this, that gap is doing this. It's funny how it closes up on you, and they nip at your heels, and your ability to get that distance again becomes shorter and shorter as they get better, and obviously it pushes you, but that's the progression in jiu-jitsu, which is wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, whenever one of my students taps me, it legit catches me. I don't mean like early in the career where you're kind of letting them work. I mean, when they
Yeah,
legit catch me, I'm like happy. I
yeah.
like shake their hand, I pat their back. I'm like, because to me, it's a proud moment. Because it's like, you know what? Whether me or the other instructors at my school, the environment that we have provided allowed them to get to a point where they could surpass me in that moment. Whereas the day they came in, we would crucify them every day they came in, but they stuck with it. And now they're right there with us and becoming better than us. I have three boys. My oldest is 24. He's a black belt,
Yeah.
and I literally can't do anything to him anymore. I mean, I've been rolling with him since he was born, so he can't. There's nothing I can do to him anymore, and I'm happy about that. That's a good day for me, right? I don't see why instructors. I've seen so many videos lately of instructors getting upset or mad because a lower belt caught them, and some of them go viral, the videos, and
Mm.
it's like, what kind of a culture do you have at your school where you have a black belt losing their mind? Or one of my friends actually that owns a school sent me a video off his security. He's like, hey, check this out. One of my black belts, he was rolling with somebody and the guy tapped him and he slapped the guy across the face
Well, and
as they got up. And he
yeah,
threw him out. He actually threw him out of the class. He threw him out of the school. But it's
Good.
like, why would you do that? That's insane.
what's cool is well, and it's kind of a I don't know transparency piece. I want to win every time, and I think I'm going to win every time. But when I get tapped by my guys, and it happens for sure, I can feel them doing what I taught them.
Mhm.
Because before they could tap me, they weren't doing what I taught them. And then now it's set in and it's there, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm not going to get that elbow back without tapping on his leg. I'm not going to get my neck back without tapping on his leg. And he is literally doing things to me that I have taught him.
Mhm.
And so there's a measure in that that feels really unique that I didn't realize I would feel later in my career. And it's really cool.
Pedro Sauer has a quote. Rob knows maybe where I'm going to go with this, and
Yep.
it's so I love it. It's one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard in jiu-jitsu. So he basically, I'm going to paraphrase and I'm going to butcher this, but he basically said, when you get tapped, it's 100% not your fault. You have to give 50% credit to the other guy. So we always like, oh, I can't believe I did this wrong. I did this wrong. I did this wrong. And Pedro Sauer would be like, well, what about me? Like, you got to give me some credit for tapping you, right? So it's a 50-50 thing. And I love that analogy.
When I get, I tell my guys it's 100% them because if it wasn't, I would have got out. It had nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
I,
I think what he I think what he means is that our 50% is that we messed up.
Yeah.
yeah, no doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt. I understand what Pedro's saying,
Yeah.
but I don't understand people that don't think the other guy tapped him. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. Then you would have gotten out. Like he submitted you. And yeah, when I get tapped, man, I tell my guys because sometimes my guys I think that I'm letting them catch it, and I'll tell them, no, I didn't let you catch crap, and I'm not going to this next. Let's shake hands right now. Like I'm not giving you anything. Like we're gonna fight.
Yeah.
You know.
So let go ahead, Rob. Do you have something?
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
So because you guys have been in the game for decades now, I want you to give some advice for those new generation that I said are coming up. So the 2036ers that are, say, let's say they're purple belts, they're brown belts, they're blue belts, whatever. What are some roadblocks that you can tell them about right now that hopefully they can listen to and avoid? What would be something that you've encountered in police training, jujitsu, that you're just like, please do not go through this door? What comes to mind that you could help someone like avoid that? Do you have anything that jumps out?
Go ahead, Chad.
I know it's a
Uh,
tough question.
yeah. So you're either gonna training. I'm talking about training right now, and I'm talking about normal training. Most of your training should be about learning and not about winning. And if you get focused on winning, you're going to have a problem because what you're going to do is only the things that allow you to win, which you're already good at, you're already doing.
Mm.
Now, when you're brand new, try to develop something, right? When you're brand new, start, but try to become fundamentally sound. You're going to get good at defense first, get hard to kill first, get hard to hold down, do those things first. And understand why you're not getting stuck or not getting submitted. Seek out those principles, those concepts, and those technical details when you're new. Second thing is, as you train, so when you first start training, especially if it's at a decent school, it's humbling. So humble, I won't have to tell you to be humble. Like we will, well, if you're going to a place where you don't have to be humble, then you should be humble. But if you're going to a legitimate place, humility is going to be part of your early days on those mats. And if you come to Couture's, we're for sure going to assist you with that aspect of your personality. Uh, so the humbleness is there, but understand, don't be defeated. Don't be like, oh man, I suck or I can't do anything. Understand the dude who's doing it to you is only doing it to you because he just continued to come back and learn and get fundamentally sound. So seek to be fundamentally sound and then seek to learn, not to win. And then on the times when it's important to win, there should be a portion of your training that we are shaking hands and trying to win. And we are going hard. But those should be limited. The majority of your training should be at a pace that you could train with a smaller a frailer, or a better athlete, either one. You should be training in a manner that you're attempting to learn. And if you are training at 110 miles an hour, every go, every moment of every go is full speed. You can only do stuff you already know, or you can just do craziness that you can't replicate that's not consistent. So look to learn when you train. If I can't tell you how many times I'll set guys up in a spot or in a drill, and I'll say, these are the parameters I want you to be in within this. This is what we're looking to do. And if they're not being successful, they'll go and try something else. And I'm like, no, this is what we're doing. Today in class, I had to finally say, hey, we're going to do burpees. If I don't see this, win or lose, because there's no losing. I know you suck at this. That's why you must do it. So stop abandoning. Oh, I tried it, coach. And now I'm going back to my favorite butterfly sweep or my favorite wrestle up. no, you're going to stay on bottom and side control bottom, and you're going to deal with this. And if we don't get to the point where we'll just exercise because that's all you're doing. So there's a difference between training and learning, and I would encourage people to learn that early and to embrace that early, and that will, as long as you're looking at principles, fundamentals, and you're trying to train to learn, you're going to rapidly get way better than I did. Man, in '98 we were fighting. We were fighting.
Yeah.
Learning took a while, and everyone was getting tough. And then when we started transitioning in the 2000s to, hey, let's really start trying to teach knowledge. And to do that, I had to change the pace of practices that even I ran. In the back of my head, I was going, man, I don't know if they're going to get the toughness. But the reality is they were getting both. And then as long as I'll do those rounds where it's like, okay, everybody, this is a win round. Like you will submit them as many times you can in this round, and don't get submitted.
Mm.
And get after it. Still take care of your partner, be safe, but you are now fighting. We'll do those rounds, but they don't have to be very often.
Okay. Okay, Rob, what about you?
All right, so let me think about this here for a second. So first of all, is when you go back, like he's talking about, there wasn't a lot of instruction going on back then. So I think as you move forward, you always want to be learning. Every year I take classes with people. I've taken classes with Chad. Chad as my witness. I've actually brought him out to my school and had him teach several days in a row. And and Chad, I just sit there and listen and do whatever you tell me, right? I mean, I just take the class. I've had classes with
Too
different
much.
organizations. What's that?
Too much. I'll be like, Rob, what do you think? Like, you got
No,
class.
yeah, I like to learn from as many people as I can. I like to make sure that I'm not always the one. Even my regular jiu-jitsu class, I'll go into class some nights and I'll just let one of my guys teach. And I don't just walk around the room. I literally find a partner and I jump into the class like any other student and I take class. And if they need help, I go help them. Otherwise, I take class, I drill, I do all the things that the instructor's saying, and I don't forget what it's like to be a student. Because sometimes we teach so much, we forget what it's like to be a student. We forget what it's like to be sitting there waiting for direction, being told what to do, getting shown techniques or having things explained to us, and seeing the way the room is run. And I learned tremendously. Not There's not a lot of techniques that I see nowadays, especially in like police DT, that I'm like, well, I haven't seen some version of that.
Mm.
But what I do see is the way people teach, the way someone explains something, the way they demonstrate something. So I would say, really pay attention to that. The other thing I would say is, you got one body, take care of it. You know what I mean? Like you want to train, but you want to train smart but tough, right? Because as you get older, like right now, I have a ACL. I just had ACL surgery. I'm 2 months into my surgery. I snapped my ACL in half, and I've had all kinds of injuries. If Chad and I and you laid out our medical records for the podcast, it'd be pages, it'd be like a CVS receipt, right? So it's just there's so many injuries, and most of those injuries were a direct result of me being stupid. Right? So
Yeah.
don't be stupid. You got one body. Don't be stupid. Take care of it. Right. Um, Another thing is like, the instruction also a long time ago this was my first couple of years in jiu-jitsu. You pretty much rolled every class, the whole class. And every time you got arm barred, finally somebody would take their mouthpiece out and say, dude, don't straighten your arm. And that was like the instruction of not to get arm barred. Don't straighten your arm. Or don't turn your back if you don't want to get choked. You know what I mean? So we were tough back then, but we weren't technical. And as Keith would always say, you want both, right? And the other thing I would say is you got to find your tribe. You know what I mean? You got to find the people that you mesh with, there's lots of people kind of doing what we do, but we found each other somehow, right? And we found each other because we're kind of on the same team, same tribe. We believe in each other's cause, and we're in it for the right reasons and the same reasons or similar reasons. And I think that in order to get far in this, you can't do it alone. You might do it alone for a certain amount of time. You might get away with it temporarily, even for 2, 3, 4 years. But without a tribe that you trust, that you can look to, that you can get information from and share information with and grow together, you won't get very far. It's many hands make light work. And
Yeah.
without each other helping us, we're not going to go very far. So that would be my kind of my other thing. And it also depends on like what's your goal with training. If you just want to be a police officer, go to work, do your job, do a good job, train jiu-jitsu for fun, well, do that. If you want to be like use of force type expert, you have to judge everything you're teaching and learning by the rules of engagement that the officers are going to face in the road. You know what I mean? You can be really good at a butterfly sweep. That doesn't mean you can teach a cop. You know what I mean? The same that maybe someone that understands what they're going to face. You gotta understand the rules of engagement in the arena that they're going to perform and be able to translate knowledge to them that's going to help them in that. Like we train MMA fighters, we train jiu-jitsu people. Do I train my MMA fighters weapon retention or team tactics? Like they don't need to know it, right?
Mhm.
So we have to pick the things that are going to match what our goal is of the instructor that we're teaching. The first thing I do when I start to look at a room, whether it's my class at my school or an in-service program or a seminar somewhere, is in order to run the room, you got to know the room you're in. Like, who's in this room? What do they need? And what do I have that I can share with them that will make them a little better when they leave here? So, and I think if you can carry that through your career, you'll be successful.
Nice. Good. Anything to add, Chad?
Yeah, the tribe thing's really important. Finding people for longevity. It's important for longevity. Ari and I had that conversation on Moneyberg, and once again, our position was not on the legitimacy or non-legitimacy of the belt awardment itself. Our conversation was more about the difference in earning about the traditional way versus I'm going to pay for privates. Because one of my questions in that podcast, and Ari shared it, was okay, great, you earned a black belt and you did that, whatever. Guys vouch for you. What do you do now? You don't even have training partners. You got a bunch of dudes you paid like for privates. You just keep paying for privates.
Mhm.
Just keep rolling around with the same dudes. Like I don't know. What do you do? I've got guys that have become lifelong friends. That there is a difference in um, like I don't even, for me it makes no sense. The tribe thing is so important that it makes no sense to desire a black belt to a okay, I'm gonna go get this thing that I hang on my wall or that I say I am. Who cares? I know I don't care. I'm not impressed by that. I've been in this industry since '98. And that guy might have taken privates with those guys, but I was teammates with some of those guys. So, they
Mhm.
I don't have any question. What I'm not having to show online my legitimacy or not. I don't even have to voice that because I've found a good group, and so that tribe thing's important. One of the texts I sent out this week to one of my guys, Richie Castro, is I said, theoretically, what time and what place would I have to show up on Wednesday to fight you? And it's just a goofy text you send the guy, and he's part of your tribe, and he says, "Oh, I'm traded at this place at this time," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, come prepared," and it's just goofing around and having fun. But it's important to me that I spend that time with those guys and that they're going to be around and I'm going to get to compete and train with them. And so that part is really important, I believe, for longevity.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think that I highly respect both of you. I refer to you as pioneers in police jiu-jitsu in the modern era, if we want to call it that. I've learned a lot from both of you. The tribe thing, I would echo that. I think it's important. When I get together with you guys on the mat and other people like Tahoe, which I'm going to just bleed into here, it's amazing. It's not only the technique; it's actually the joking and the talking, and learning how people are teaching. And it's a whole thing. So I want to thank both of you because I really do appreciate your friendship and your mentorship because I think you're doing wonderful things in this particular arena. And you'll both be at the Lake Tahoe event coming up in June. And actually, Officer Survival Series is one of the gold sponsors for the Tahoe event. We're very excited for that. So thank you, Rob. And it's just wonderful to have these different companies who are jumping on board to want to support police officers training. So the plug for the Lake Tahoe event, it's happening June 8th to 10th. Tickets are available on the Invictus Leo website. And there are different sponsorship packages if you're interested in that. The invitational, which is going to happen. So we're going to give away the belt again to the winner. And we're going to be releasing the cadre information and the schedule information soon. So Rob, thanks for jumping on board and helping with the event. And Chad, obviously, for coming and teaching again. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Well, while you were doing that, right on my screen popped up a text message from Ben Hoffman. He got his time approved and he's going to the event. So
amazing. Love it.
Right there.
Good to see you again, Ben, because I think this is going to be the third year in a row.
Yeah, he loves it.
It's awesome. Great. Fantastic. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us again. Obviously, Chad and I doing the No Zoo Lines podcast. It's amazing. And Rob, thanks for jumping on board. This has been great.
I really appreciate it. I always love talking to both of you, and nothing I would ever want to pass up is a conversation with both of you. So it's always great.
Can you plug your stuff? Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, sure. I'm on Instagram under my name, Rob, Magao, or Officer Survival Series, or Manchester, or Hebron Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I have a bunch of different Instagram pages. Also run the Connecticut Police Jiu-Jitsu team, so we have something there as well. But officersurvivalseries.com is my website for the school. I mean, for the OSS program. And a lot of classes that we have listed on there are mostly in Connecticut. We do some around the country at time to time, but we do have something coming up in New England that will be the full 8-day that we do, which normally is hard for someone to come from out of state because we split the days. But this one's going to be kind of all in a row, and they're going to have housing and stuff available. So that'll be at Massachusetts State Police Academy in May. So that'll be pretty good.
That's great.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Rob. And thank you, Chad.
Welcome.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay. So remember, listen to the No Zoo Lions podcast. You can find us online, nozoolions.com. We're on Spotify and YouTube. And remember, lead, don't follow. And we'll see you next time.